Okay, today I'll be correcting a passage called Impressions. First off, we'll go ahead and read it. I'm going to impress about English course of study for elementary schools. Frankly, I think we Japanese changed the method. I learned ways of teaching EFL in other Asian countries. In Korea, students start studying English, mainly speaking and listening, since third grade or since grade 3. And then they begin to study listening and writing. In addition, elementary school teachers are trained to teach English. The end of English study in Korean elementary schools is that they can express congratulatory message or talk about their course and so on by graduation. In Vietnam, students cover almost all contents taught in Japanese junior high school. I've heard that Japanese students learn words only half or one-third of other Asian countries, that many of them are not good at speaking and then reading. There are many countries advanced in English teaching, so I feel that we Japanese had better to learn the way from them. Okay. First off, very good job. I got the message out of everything, so you conveyed the message well. There are some, I would say, minor grammatical errors, and we'll go ahead and go through those. So, impressions, perfect, it's a title, not too fancy there, nothing you need. I'm going to impress about English course of study for elementary schools. Now, this sentence, I wasn't exactly sure what you meant, but this impress, I believe, is the wrong word. So impress, let's see, I had that open in dictionary.com. So impress in this situation, there's a couple definitions I would say fit this. To affect deeply or strongly in mind or feelings. To influence an opinion. So does it really fit there? I suppose it kind of can, but this is what it'll mean if that's what you mean. I'm going to change your mind about English course of study for elementary schools, or I'm going to influence you about English course of study for elementary schools. And that just doesn't really sound very natural. So what I would change this to, I would go with something like, I'm going to talk about English course of study, or I'm going to discuss. Discuss would sound actually really nice, but not discuss about. So you would say, I'm going to discuss English course of study for elementary schools. That, I think, would sound really nice. Discuss is pretty much like talk about. It pretty much just means talk about. But it's a less common word. So in speaking, you probably wouldn't say discuss as often. But when you're writing, you want to use nice descriptive words like discuss that are a little bit less frequent in speech. Anyways, so I think that's probably a really good way to say that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Frankly, I think we Japanese changed the method. Okay, so for this one, this sentence makes sense. It makes perfect sense, but I'm not sure exactly if this means what you meant it to mean. So this sentence, frankly, I think we Japanese changed the method. That means you keep changing things about the method of teaching in elementary schools. So you keep changing the method of teaching. because you said change. Um, and what I think you meant to say is that we Japanese changed, like you did change it in the past, not that you keep changing it. Um, so that's what I think you meant. I will just say this sentence is perfect because it does make perfect sense and it is grammatically correct. But if you meant that Japanese changed it in the past instead of they keep changing it, then that would need to be changed to changed with a D on the end. So that would just be spelled like this. Boom, D. But like I said, it is correct, so I'll just leave it as a perfect. I learned ways of teaching EFL in other Asian countries. So this one also makes sense. Again, I think yeah, this makes sense. I think a better way to state this in this case would be I learned ways that other Asian countries teach EFL. And I think that's more along the lines of what you meant to say. Because this, when you say, I learned ways of teaching EFL, it kind of sounds like you're training to teach EFL and you learned other ways of teaching it. So if that's the case, don't change it at all. If you're learning ways to teach it so that you can teach it, then I would change that, or I wouldn't change that. But if what you meant is you learned the ways that other countries teach it, so you're learning about the way other countries do it, if that's what you meant to say, then I would change it to I learned, let's see, how did I say it? I learned ways that other Asian countries teach EFL. So again, if you are learning ways of teaching because you're a teacher, then this is fine. But that's what it makes it sound like. So if you're not a teacher, this makes you sound like you're trying to be a teacher. So it might not be getting your message across. If you are a teacher, great job. If you're not, then this is what I think you would probably mean. I learned the ways that other countries do it. The way that other countries teach EFL. But I won't put that because this sentence is correct. So, and I'm not exactly sure if that's what you meant or not. So next one. In Korea, students start studying English, mainly speaking and listening, since grade 3. Oh, this one. So yeah, this one's fine. I wanted to point out when I read through this, I like the fact that you actually got this right. This segment in the commas. So what that is, I don't know the technical term for it, but what I always call it is like an interjection. You're interjecting in your own sentence, meaning that you're kind of disrupting your own sentence to put another bit of information in there. So in Korea, students start studying English since grade 3. That's your sentence. But your interjection is mainly speaking and listening. So they study English since grade 3, but what they mainly study is speaking and listening. And that's what you wanted to kind of implant in the middle of the sentence. I've seen a lot of times even English native speakers don't know how to do this. So very good job for knowing how to do that. So yeah, I think in English, I don't know about other English-speaking countries, but we usually would say the third grade, not grade 3. Grade 3 is fine. It's just less common than third grade. Um, but I don't know, like in England, how they say that. But in America, um, we usually would say third grade. But grade 3 is fine, so don't get me wrong here. So that's perfect. And then they begin to study listening and writing. Okay. Hmm. All right. So this sentence is fine by itself, but in the context of being after this sentence, I would say it's incorrect because you're saying in Korea, students start studying English since grade 3, and then you say, and then they begin to study listening and writing. So what that sounds like you're saying is what it sounds like is that they start studying English and then they don't start studying listening and writing until after the third grade. Now, if they're studying English, I'm sure they're studying listening, writing, reading, and grammar, all that stuff at the same time. They're probably focusing on certain things at one time, though. So I would probably say that. I would probably say this sentence. This is a hard one. In Korea, students start studying English, mainly speaking and listening, since grade 3. After that, okay, I would say they focus. And then they focus on, I'll go ahead and put that in red for you. And then they focus on listening and writing. Or after that, they focus on listening and writing. Because this is changing the focus of their study. So they're studying. Oh, okay. So they're studying. In third grade, they start studying. And then they start by mainly speaking and listening. And then the focus changes. So now they're mainly doing listening and writing. So the focus changes. They focus on listening and writing. Or you can say and then they start working more on their listening and writing. Something like that. But this, I think, is a really good way to say that. Oh, no. Oh, okay. In addition, elementary school teachers are trained to teach English. I would say that's perfect. Yep, looks perfect to me. The end of English study in Korean elementary schools is that they can express congratulatory message or talk about their course and so on by graduation. Okay. This pretty much all makes sense. Is that they can express congratulatory messages. You can either say messages with an S, or you can say express a congratulatory message. Because congratulatory message, if it's just one message, you need this A here to say that it's a congratulatory message. It's one congratulatory message. But since you don't have that A there, you would either need the A or you'd either need the A or the S on messages. I think congratulatory messages sounds better. because you, I would assume that after they graduate from their elementary school, after they finish their elementary school study, they can express more than one message of congratulations. Um, so that's why I would say messages rather than a congratulatory message. Because I would assume they can say a lot of different things by graduation. Um, or talk about their course and so on by graduation. So this makes sense. I think actually you need. I think you need this. Um, it's kind of another interjection type thing that I was talking about. I'm not actually sure if this is completely required, but I would think it. I think it helps the flow of the sentence a little bit. So, is that they can express congratulatory messages or talk about their course and so on by graduation. Um, just put a little pause there, and I think it sounds a little bit better in the flow. Um, so. So I might reword this to something like. So you kind of already said graduation like 2 times in this sentence. You didn't say graduation twice, but what I mean by that is you said graduation here, and then you said the end of English study in Korean elementary schools. There. So the end of study is your graduation, right? I mean, when you graduate, you're no longer studying in your school. So those are kind of they're two different things. Kind of studying, you can study outside of school, but um, if you're saying the end of the study in elementary schools, that means that they're graduating, unless they're dropping out, which they can't really do in elementary school. But so you kind of said that twice. Well, I said that like 4 times. So what I would say is, by graduation, I would say something like, by the time children or students, whatever you want to put there, graduate from Korean elementary school, and then change that if that's what you're saying, you need to change that to school. By the time children graduate from Korean elementary school, they can express congratulatory messages or talk about their course and so on, and get rid of that. That I think would sound a little bit more natural. But that's changing up a lot of the sentence. So I'll correct that in a different way, but that's probably how I would get the message across as a native English speaker. That's a good natural way of saying it. I'll find another natural way that doesn't completely ruin the order in which you had it, and I'll put that here, and so you can have that. So I'll get rid of all that. All right. In Vietnam, students cover almost all of the contents taught in Japanese junior high school. Makes perfect sense to me. All right. I've heard that Japanese students learn words only half or 1/3 of other Asian countries, that many of them are no good at speaking than reading. All right, so this one has a couple things wrong with it. I've heard that Japanese students learn words so only half or 1/3 of other Asian countries. What I think you meant by that is that Japanese students learn half as many words as other Asian countries' students. Um, so yeah, that would, I would change that to half as many. Whoops. Learn only half as many words as other Asian countries. Yeah. Then that would make sense. And that many of them are not good at speaking than reading. Alright, so this than doesn't make sense here. What I think you meant is that they're better at speaking than reading. But then this would need to be changed. Not good at speaking than reading. So there's a couple things you can say here. You can say they're not good at speaking or reading. So they're neither good at speaking or reading. Or I don't think that makes sense. They're not good at speaking or reading. But I think you meant to say that they're better at speaking than reading, since you had that than there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the than there and then change the rest, because that's what I think you meant. So you need to say not good at, or not good needs to change to that many of them are better at speaking than reading. So I'll go ahead and put that in red for you. But I think that's what you meant to say. That means that their speaking level is higher than their reading level. So they're better at speaking than they are at reading. And that's how you would say that. Not, many of them are not good at speaking than reading. That just doesn't make sense the way that is. There are many countries advanced in English teaching. It makes sense. This advanced kind of sounds a little bit weird. I'd probably change that to there are many countries with advanced teaching methods, or there are many countries. I think that's the closest to the meaning that you want. There are many countries advanced in teaching, or what did I say? There are many countries with advanced teaching methods. Advanced teaching methods. And then if you wanted to keep that English in there, advanced English teaching methods. Yeah, I would put English right here, because that's, wow, I cannot spell. Advanced English teaching methods. So then teaching methods would be your noun, and then English would be your adjective there, describing the noun. It's not just regular teaching methods, it's English teaching methods. Let's see, I'm trying to think of another way so you don't have to change the order as much. Well, I guess you don't, that doesn't really change the order much, but I guess that's probably the best thing I can come up with. So I feel that we Japanese had better to learn the way from them. So this will make perfect sense if you get rid of this too. We had better learn, I feel that we Japanese had better learn the way from them. Had better learn the way from them. That sounds perfectly fine. hey, we'd better learn from them, guys. We'd better learn from them. Makes sense. And that's, it's, I would say something like that would be said in a normal English sentence, or in a native English speaker would say something like that, is what I mean. Let's see, I'm trying to think of if there's any better ways to say it. I don't know. I don't think there really is. I guess another way you could say it. So I feel that we Japanese should learn from them, or yeah, that's probably the best thing I guess I can come up with. So I feel that we Japanese had better learn from them. It's fine. Well, I'll go ahead and finish up some notes, just so if you don't end up seeing this video, you'll have something to read. Hopefully you can see the video though. I hope that I've been helpful for you, and good luck on your English. You're doing really well so far, so keep it up.